Malik woke up before the sun rose. Every day, he put on his worn-out garbage collector uniform and set off toward the city streets. At 35 years old, Malik felt trapped in an unrelenting routine, where hard work was rewarded with a bare minimum, just enough to support his wife and 2 young children. They lived in a small house on the outskirts of town, surrounded by other families who, like his, fought daily to survive. Malik didn't complain, but the weight of responsibility was immense. His wife, Tamika, had a tired face, a constant reminder of the difficulties they faced. She worked as a cleaning lady, but her wages were also meager. The bills piled up, and the dream of providing a better life for their children seemed more distant each day. As he drove the garbage truck through the city's bustling streets, he couldn't help but wonder, was this all life had in store for him? The job of a garbage collector often went unnoticed by others. While people went about their daily routines, Malik and his colleagues passed by unseen, cleaning up the messes no one wanted to acknowledge. He knew his work was important, but society didn't seem to value it. There was a loneliness in the role, dealing daily with other people's waste, but having no escape from the struggles of his own life. Still, Malik never completely lost hope. Even amid the harshness of his reality, he held on to a silent desire for something better. He just didn't know how to reach it. When he talked with friends and family, he felt that they had already given up on dreaming, accepting poverty as part of life. But Malik couldn't resign himself to that. Something inside him whispered that there might be a way out of his situation. At home, at night, when the silence took over, Malik would look at his children sleeping and ask himself, how could he guarantee them a different future? This question consumed him, but the answers always seemed out of reach. One morning, as he drove through a wealthy neighborhood, Malik saw the luxurious houses and well-kept gardens. It was a reality so far removed from his own, and for a moment he felt a mix of frustration and longing. The contrast between the streets where he collected trash and his own life was painful. These people had no idea how hard it was to live with so little. But that very day, something inside Malik began to shift. It was just another day of work, like so many others. Malik and his co-workers followed their usual route, collecting bags of trash from immaculate sidewalks, while the residents of the large houses barely noticed their presence. For Malik, the work had become mechanical. He picked up the bags, tossed them into the truck, and moved on to the next street. But on that day, something unexpected caught his attention. As he approached a modern house, he noticed an old, broken chair among the bags of trash. As he drew closer, he realized that, although damaged, the chair's frame was solid. It was an old model, made of solid wood, the kind of piece that, in better times, had likely been valuable. Malik hesitated for a moment, almost throwing it into the truck with the rest of the garbage. But instead, he ran his hand over the rough, worn wood and had a thought. What if I fix this chair? Something in the back of his mind urged him to try. He knew he wasn't a carpenter, but he also knew he had a knack for fixing small things. At home, he was always the one to repair broken furniture and utensils. That chair seemed like a challenge, but at the same time, an opportunity to create something out of what others had discarded. He set the chair aside and continued his work, but the idea of restoring it wouldn't leave his mind. Throughout the rest of the day, Malik thought about how he could bring new life to that piece. What had started as curiosity was quickly becoming a deep desire to try something new. When his shift ended, he took the chair home. As soon as Tamika saw him carrying the old, broken object, she couldn't help but ask, with a hint of concern, "Malik, why did you bring this? It looks like trash." He smiled slightly, despite his evident exhaustion. "I think I can fix it, Tamika. Maybe I can sell it." Tamika raised an eyebrow, not quite understanding the idea, but she knew Malik well enough to know that when he got something into his head, he didn't give up easily. Even so, the weight of their financial struggles made her hesitant. She looked at the chair again and went back to her chores, still unsure of what it could really represent. That night, Malik started working on the chair. He improvised a workshop in a small space in the backyard and spent hours sanding, hammering, and adjusting every detail. He didn't have the ideal tools, but he made do with what he had. With every stroke of the sandpaper and every hammer strike, Malik felt something new growing inside him, a sense of purpose and hope. For the first time in a long while, he believed he could do something different, something beyond his daily routine. Days passed, and Malik continued to work on the chair during his few free hours. It was a slow and meticulous process, but he didn't mind. To him, that small project symbolized a bigger change, the possibility of transforming not just an object, but also his life. When he finally finished, the chair was unrecognizable. What had once seemed destined for the garbage was now a beautiful, elegant piece, restored with care and dedication. The first step was done. Now, he needed to see if anyone would be willing to pay for it. Malik knew that the next step would be crucial. With the restored chair ready, Malik decided it was time to try selling it. Although he felt a mix of excitement and insecurity, he knew he needed to move forward. The idea of earning a little extra money, even just a small amount, could be a great help to his family. The problem now was figuring out where and how to sell something he had restored himself, with no experience in sales. The following weekend, Malik took the chair to a small local market, where a flea market was held. The stalls sold all sorts of things. Fruits, vegetables, second-hand clothes, and old furniture wasn't an unusual sight. He set up a small makeshift display, placing the chair among other second-hand items being sold by different vendors. Malik knew the spot wasn't the best, but it was the only one he could afford with the little money he had. At first, he stood nervously, watching people pass by, most of them not even noticing the chair. A few curious onlookers glanced at it, but moved on without asking questions. The insecurity began to creep in. What if he was just wasting his time? Hours went by until an elderly woman, accompanied by her daughter, stopped in front of the chair. She looked at it carefully, examining the details of the restoration. "This chair is very beautiful. Did you do this yourself?" she asked, her expression genuinely curious. Malik felt his heart race. "Yes, I found it old and broken, but I restored it with my own hands," he replied, trying to stay calm, although inside he was filled with anticipation. The elderly woman smiled as she ran her hand over the smooth surface of the chair, appreciating the work Malik had put into it. Her daughter, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke. "It's incredible. You gave this chair a new life. How much are you asking for it?" Malik hesitated for a moment, unsure of the right price. He hadn't expected to get this far, and now he had to decide on a number. He thought of the time he had spent, the effort, and how much even a little extra money could help. "I was thinking around $100, he said, not too confident in his voice. The woman and her daughter exchanged glances. To Malik's surprise, the daughter nodded. "We'll take it." Malik's heart skipped a beat. He couldn't believe it. He had actually sold the chair. The elderly woman handed him the money, and Malik thanked them repeatedly, barely containing his excitement. As they walked away with the chair, he stood there for a moment, still processing what had just happened. That evening, when he returned home, Tamika noticed the difference in his expression immediately. He looked lighter, more animated. "How did it go?" she asked, with a hint of curiosity. "I sold the chair," Malik exclaimed, holding up the $100 with a wide smile. Tamika was surprised. She had been skeptical about the whole idea, but seeing the result made her realize that maybe Malik was onto something. "That's amazing, Malik. What are you going to do next?" Malik sat down at the kitchen table, still holding the money, deep in thought. The thrill of his first sale gave him confidence, but now he needed to think strategically. If he could sell one chair, could he sell more? Could he do this regularly, or was it just a fluke? The idea of fixing up more discarded furniture suddenly seemed like a real possibility. He had proven to himself that it wasn't impossible. Over the next few weeks, Malik started looking at the streets differently. What had once been just trash on the sidewalk became potential treasure. He began picking up old chairs, tables, and even broken shelves during his garbage routes, bringing them home to restore. With each piece he worked on, he got better, faster, and more efficient. He even invested part of his earnings into buying some basic tools to help with the process. Tamika watched as Malik's little backyard project grew into something more. She still had doubts, but the glimmer of hope in Malik's eyes was something she hadn't seen in years. It gave her hope, too, that maybe things could change for the better. Soon, Malik wasn't just fixing furniture. He was creating a small business. Word started to spread around the neighborhood about his work. People began stopping by, asking if he could fix their old furniture or build something new. Malik realized that his talent wasn't just about restoring things. It was about bringing value to what others had given up on. With every piece sold, Malik's confidence grew. He started keeping a ledger of his earnings, tracking every sale and expense. For the first time in his life, he felt in control of his financial future. He wasn't just working to survive anymore. He was building something that could change his family's life. Months passed, and Malik's small furniture restoration business continued to grow. He began setting up a booth at the flea market every weekend, where his restored pieces became a popular attraction. People appreciated the craftsmanship and the fact that he was giving new life to discarded items. He even began receiving custom orders from clients who wanted personalized pieces for their homes. But Malik knew that he needed more than just luck and hard work to succeed in the long run. He needed to learn how to manage a business properly, market himself, and think about scaling his operation. So, he took a bold step and enrolled in an evening business course at the local community college. It wasn't easy balancing work, family, and now school, but Malik was determined. He knew that knowledge was the key to transforming his small project into something sustainable. The course introduced him to the world of entrepreneurship, and Malik absorbed every lesson eagerly. He learned about financial planning, customer service, and even marketing strategies. He applied what he learned immediately, improving his pricing models, enhancing customer interaction, and expanding his product range. One night, after a long day of work followed by a class, Malik sat down with Tamika at the kitchen table. "I think we're ready," he said, looking into her eyes with a mix of excitement and nervousness. "Ready for what?" she asked, puzzled. "To make this official. I want to turn this into a real business. Not just selling at the flea market, but opening an actual store." Tamika was taken aback by the idea. "A store? Malik, that sounds risky." "We don't have the money for that," she replied, concerned. But Malik was prepared. He had been saving his profits, meticulously managing their budget. "I've been saving, Tamika, and I think with a small loan, we can do it. We could rent a space, something affordable, and grow from there." They discussed the risks and possibilities late into the night. Tamika was hesitant, but she could see Malik's passion and belief in his vision. In the end, she agreed. They were in this together, and if Malik thought they could make it work, she was willing to support him. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Malik applied for a small business loan, worked with a local realtor to find a modest shop in a more accessible part of the city, and began preparing for the biggest step he had ever taken in his life. Finally, after months of planning, Malik's dream became a reality. The store was small but well organized, filled with restored furniture pieces, each one representing hours of hard work and dedication. Malik stood in the middle of his shop on opening day, looking around with a sense of pride. It wasn't just about the furniture anymore. It was about everything he had overcome to get here. Tamika was by his side, holding his hand. "You did it, Malik," she said softly, smiling at him with pride in her eyes. "No, we did it," he replied, squeezing her hand. As the first customers walked through the door, Malik knew that this was only the beginning. The journey had been difficult, but the lessons he had learned were invaluable. He had started with nothing but a broken chair, and now he was a business owner, providing for his family in ways he had never imagined possible. The struggles were far from over, but Malik had something now that he hadn't before: belief in himself and in the future he was building for his children. He had transformed not only discarded furniture but also his life, proving that even from the hardest circumstances, something beautiful could emerge. And as Malik watched his customers browse through the shop, he smiled, knowing that he had found a way to create a new life, one restored piece at a time.